Welcome to the Rhonda Effect, the podcast dedicated to helping entrepreneurs like you harness the power of intuition and deepen your connection with spirit. I'm your host, Rhonda Arnott, and this is your space to stepping into your power and unleashing the extraordinary potential within you. In a world where understanding the unseen has never been more crucial, we're embracing the age of intuition and awakening to the profound guidance that lies just beneath the surface. Each week, we'll explore how you can strengthen your intuitive abilities, deepen more connection with spirit, and navigate your entrepreneurial journey with clarity and confidence. It's time to awaken to the possibilities, trust your inner wisdom, and transform your life and business from the inside out. Join me on the Rhonda Effect as we embark on this incredible journey together. So let's dive in and discover the power of intuition. Well, welcome back to the Rhonda Effect podcast. And if you're watching by YouTube, welcome back to the Rhonda Effect YouTube channel. I'm your host, Rhonda Arnott, and today we have the beautiful Lauren Armstrong. Lauren is a human design guide, and we are talking all about the authorities that different designs have. This one is really interesting to me. It's going to be about manifestors. If you don't know your human design or blueprint, I'll call it the blueprint, go on over to Lauren's website or her Instagram page, connect with Lauren and find out what your human design blueprint is, because I think you'll be just absolutely blown away. But before we get into the 3 authorities that manifestors have, Lauren, will you introduce yourself to my beautiful audience, please?
Yes. Hello, friends. I'm Lauren Armstrong. I'm a human design guide. I primarily work with business owners, and we play with how do you move through the world and with more flow, more ease, following your unique energetic blueprint without all of the resistance that comes when you try and do things the way that everyone else does them. So in this little mini series that we're doing around the types and their emotion and their authorities, or the way that their intuition speaks to them through the body, the way that you make decisions. Today, we're going to be chatting with the manifestors. So I'm excited to get in.
That's amazing. I always thought I was a manifester because I love manifesting. I had no idea that that's not how it worked, but it's something I really like to do, is to manifest. And so before I took, the blueprint, I'm a manifester, no problem. And then it come out that I was a projector, and I was like, what a letdown.
Oh. Yeah,
honestly, I realized that it wasn't a letdown. It was who I am. That's my blueprint. And there are some really, really cool things about being a projector. As you know, as a sister projector, you know all about that. But today, let's talk about the 3 authorities or we could call it 3 ways of intuition that manifestors have.
Yes.
So tell me a little bit about these 3.
Yeah. So manifestors, my friends, I have so many friends that are manifestors. I love manifestors. So hello, love you guys. So happy to be in your earbuds today, or on your screen. As far as manifestors, the way that your intuition speaks to you is what we like to call in human design as your authority or your decision-making strategy. So of the 3, you're either going to have emotional authority, splenic authority, or willful determination authority, or that's also called ego authority. So those are the 3 different types that you can have. If you go to laurenarmstrong.com/human design chart, all one word, you can pull your chart and see where it says authority or decision-making strategy. We're using those words interchangeably to figure out what your decision-making strategy is. So the first one is emotional authority. So if you are happening to listen to this whole series, it's very similar to the one that we talked about on Jennifer and Manny Jen. You can have that as that type as well, emotional authority. About 50% of the population has emotional authority. So it is really common, which is beautiful. And also the world is not necessarily set up for you. So something kind of interesting to consider, right? Emotional authority is where you are, as a manifester, you're here to initiate things. You're here to get things started. And when you are going to go get things started, it's important that you take things through your emotional wave. You ride your emotional wave
Mhm.
before you initiate, before you inform, to make sure it's actually correct for you. You have enough space and capacity for it. That's one of the things that our intuition is telling us, our emotional authority is telling us, is do you have the space? Do you have the time? Do you have the capacity? So what that looks like is riding the wave, the high of like, oh my gosh, I have to do this. I have to initiate this. Now I have to tell all the humans about this, right? Like you can like feel that buzzing almost. Then
Yeah.
the low of like, no, not for me. Why do I have to be the one? I don't want to initiate this. Like low of like, absolutely not. And those can be interchangeable, right? Like you can go low first before you go high. You can be like, absolutely not, and then get really excited about it.
Oh, I've done that. I
Yeah.
have done that. I'm like, that is an absolute no. And then within a few hours, I'm like, you know what?
Yeah.
That I think that actually would be a good thing to do. I've done that myself.
Yep. So then we go in the high, like, oh my gosh, I have to do this, right? And then
Yeah.
there's that calm clarity that only comes with time and space. So you get to give yourself space in order to say
Mhm.
yes to things. Days is preferable, like maybe a week, right? Feeling out things like if this is for you or if this isn't for you, because you're going to ride that wave and you're designed to make decisions when you're about 80% sure, when you're
Yeah.
not like in the emotional thick of it, when you've kind of gotten emotionally detached and you're like, you know what? Yeah, that's a good idea. I'm going to move forward
Mhm.
with that. Or, you know what? No, that's not really for me. So that's how you are going to move through the world with emotional authority if you have emotional authority. So high highs, low lows, then calm clarity, giving yourself time, giving yourself space. One of the fun quotes in emotional authority is there's no truth in the now. So really letting yourself have space with
Love it.
decisions, letting your intuition speak to you and through you over time in the body. Um, so that is our emotional authority. I'm going to pause there. Ron, do you have anything you want to say or share or ask before I move on to Splenic?
Oh my gosh. Well, I know that that is part of who I am because your explanation of the emotions, riding the wave, giving yourself some space to make that, probably in my case, the change of going from one to the other. Um, and it's interesting because I've used it both in my corporate world and my entrepreneurial journey. Before I really understood about the emotional part of it, I would make decisions and then I would just be like, oh my gosh, how do I get out of it? And
Mhm.
then I'd have to figure out a way to get out of it. So I completely understand about the emotional part of it, and how my intuition is built like that. And it's just once you tap into that and you understand it, you're like on fire because it, to me, it happens quicker now. The more I'm recognizing it, the more I'm using it, the more I giving myself, you know, some space, it flows better. So
Mhm.
that's just, that's my input to the blueprint of projectors. But tell me more about the next authority that you're going to talk about.
The next, so that, I mean, that's the way it works with all authorities, right? Like when you follow them, you're only saying yes to things that are correct for you, and you're actually saying no to things that aren't correct for you. So that's the goal, right? Is to really get into the flow and and tapping into whatever your decision making strategy is. So for those of us that have like on our chart says emotional, this is for you. Go forth and conquer. Letting yourself have space to make those decisions. So then the next decision making strategy is actually doesn't need any space at all. It is splenic authority, and
Yeah.
so splenic authority or instinct, you know, authority. It's really based off of where you are right now in the present moment. This is one of the oldest authorities, and you have an instantaneous, spontaneous knowing that something is correct for you or isn't correct for you. And the body is going to activate depending on how how your spleen, quote unquote, your spleen, your instinctive knowing function is defined in the chart. So it might be just a dropping in, a knowing that comes in and you're like, I don't know how I know this, I just know it. It might be the way that it shows up as like a small voice that's whispering, like this, you know, that this is correct for you. It might be, you know, it's a touch, a taste, a smell. It's something like intuitively that you just pick up in the moment, in the knowing when you're in this space. If you have splenic authority, that's like, this is correct for me or not. And so really being present and aware and in the now moment is important for those of us that have splenic authority. So that's what's showing up for splenic people. What's really fun that I love to describe, like, your spleen can't plan into the future necessarily, right? Like, you can't be like, next Tuesday, what am I eating for lunch? Like, yes. A salad or a burger. But when you're in line at the menu and you're like that, I'm being pulled toward this, or or this is being whispered to me, right? Like, that's the instinctive knowing. I love to describe this as like when you're on the freeway and you're driving and it's like that quiet voice that's like, switch lanes, or like, you just know you need to switch lanes. And then there's an accident that happens in the lane that you were just in. Like, it's very survival based. It's very instinct based. It's the oldest authority like that. It's very splenic. Like, can you trust your knowing rather than what a lot of people do with splenic authority is overdrive, get into their head and tell themselves all the reasons they should or shouldn't do something, when really your body is trying to communicate with you.
Is it possible to have both? Because as you're talking about it, I'm like, oh my gosh, that's me too.
Yeah, no. So you have one authority. So you have experiences of lots of different of these energies. But the way that I like to describe it, and I heard someone else talk about this before, I think it might have been Sam Zagar, just to like, give credit where it's due. I'd love to share where I actually learned something. But when I think about authority, and I've loved this analogy, is like, let's imagine all of these different areas of energy at a table, right? So like, let's say you have spleen or instinctive knowing function, you have the emotional function, all of these functions that all of us have, all of these functions. But only one of them is the judge at the top of the table. Only one of them actually gets to decide. Only one of them is the things that says, okay, everybody get on board. This is the way we're going. I'm going to be the one that tells us what we have the capacity for. I'm going to be the one that tells us, where we're going in this life. I'm going to be the one that tells us what the correct path is. That's my job, and that's the job I was given. And that's kind of like the ruler of the chart, the ruler of the panel. It's the judge. It gets to decide. Okay. So you'll, yes, absolutely experience intuition, like a splenic instinctive knowing. Everyone has a spleen, right? So everyone's going to have that experience, but that's not the way that you're actually designed to decide something unless you have splenic authority. If you have, see the difference? Like, you're going to experience emotions, you're going to experience high lows no matter what, but who's deciding? It's who's ever the authority.
Okay. I got to find my chart. I'm going to find my chart right now.
You have self-projected authority. So yours is the G center to the throat, and that's the one that gets to decide. So you get to have all of these experiences and then talk it out. And when you talk it out, the way your voice shifts, the way your body shifts, that's how you get to make those decisions.
Oh, interesting. Oh my gosh. Okay, tell me the next one.
Yeah. So the next one, if you are a projector and you have willful determination, or
a manifestor.
Yeah. Did I say something different?
You said projector, but you know what? I want to be it all, so it's okay. Just
You're a manifestor and you have ego authority, or it might also be called in your chart a willful determination authority. So this is really where you have that defined little heart center in your chart. So it's like a little tiny triangle within the chart. And this is really about willpower. So those of us that have that ego authority.
That's not me. I have no willpower.
Well, you don't have consistent access to willpower. About only 30% of the population has consistent access to the energy of willpower.
Really?
Which is that will function, which is that defined heart center. So this is so interesting, right? So yeah. So when you'll be really moved into action through the force of your will in the moment, if you have willful determination, or ego authority is the way that it's going to show up in the chart. So it's not really necessarily when things are like thought out or pre-planned. It's like, listen for the words of like, I will, or I have to, coming out of your mouth. And you're like, oh shoot, that's my authority, right? Like you're wanting to do something, you're noticing that it's going to come out of your mouth. Like, it's really unhealthy for you to commit to things that require commitment for a super long period of time if decisions were made in your mind, because your willpower will overrun, right? It'll take out and be like, well, I said yes, now I have to do it. right?
Oh,
So
wow.
because you have willpower, it will kick in. So it's really important for you to only say yes to things that you have the will to do. A lot of the times I like to chat with clients that have this authority and be like, is it worth it? Like your
Mm,
ego authorities love to see if things are worth it or if they're worth the
okay.
exchange. So that's a really good way to look at things and to feel through them in your body. Like, is this worth it?
Right,
Your
right. Yeah, that's definitely not me. Because I'd be like, yeah. No. Wait, hang on.
Yeah. See, like, is your heart in it? That's really a really beautiful way to look at
That's right.
ego
Oh,
authority.
wow.
Mhm.
Oh my gosh, that's incredible.
It's really fun. Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead.
No, I have a client that has ego authority, and it's been really fun to like play with all the things that he said yes to in
Yeah.
his life out of like obligation, and then his will kicked in, and then he didn't have like the space to do things that he actually wanted to do.
Right, right.
Right? So like really getting clear, like what does that look like? So we had him do some like heart opening yoga poses, for example. Like if you want to
Oh,
play with the energy of how to get into and tap into your heart, that's a fun way to do that.
oh my gosh. And you help people tap in?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
So if any of this resonated with you as the listener or you or the viewer, honestly, you need to reach out to Lauren and really find. Thank you, Diesel. I can hear my dog barking. He's my Great Pyrenees comes and barks at the strangest time, but thank you for, validating that you need to go see Lauren. Reach out to Lauren, do your chart, find your blueprint, and really expand your life. Like it's going to blow your mind. And it's going to actually make it so you think, or that that was me. I knew that. I knew that was my design, or I just didn't understand how to put it all together. So thank you, Lauren, for this episode.
Cool.
The next one is going to be juicy. We started off with generator and Manigen. This episode was about manifestors. The next episode is going to be all about us as projectors. So stay tuned. And again, everything will be in the show notes. Find Lauren, do your chart, find your blueprint, and really live life the way you were designed. So thank you, Lauren.
Thank you so much.
So before you go, I'd like to give a big shout out to our sponsor, the Build It Big Network. This episode is sponsored by the Build It Big Network, a virtual membership resource hub designed for entrepreneurs and executives who are looking to access professional resources and to be part of a unique business community. Member benefits include on-demand 24/7 business resources, updated weekly, virtual and in-person monthly masterclasses, business coaching, emotional coaching, intuitive coaching, discounted business and social media services for members, and members are part of the Lounge and Learn Workday in person in Ontario, Canada. I personally enjoy being part of this professional community where sound experience meets authenticity in business. Plus, you can access my intuitive coaching services available through the Build It Big Network. Be sure to comment network, that's NETWORK, and I will be thrilled to send you their information so you can see what all the talk is about with the Build It Big Network. The Build It Big Network is a sister division of Create Your Virtual Influence Consulting.
Thank you for tuning into the Rhonda Effect. I'm Rhonda Arnott, and I am honored to have shared this journey with you today. As we wrap up this episode, remember that the power of intuition and the connection with spirit are always within you, guiding and empowering you. In this age of intuition, it's more important than ever to trust your inner wisdom and embrace the unseen forces that can propel you to new heights. Keep exploring, keep questioning, and most importantly, keep listening to that inner voice that knows the way. If you found today's episode inspiring, I encourage you to subscribe, leave a review, and share this with all your friends who are ready to awaken their own intuitive powers. And if you're looking for more ways to deepen your connection with spirit and step into your full potential, head on over to Instagram, find me at rhonda.arnott, and send me a DM. Until then, stay tuned, stay connected, and remember, the magic of intuition is always at your fingertips. This is Rhonda Arnott, and you've been listening to The Rhonda Effect. See you next time.